that money not to purchase coffee, which is very expensive. I'm just going to buy tea because I'm equally as happy and spend the rest on cocaine, let's say, something. And in that world, you're not talking about a cost of living adjustment, because I should be able to say, I only need to compensate you to make you equally happy. I don't need to compensate you to buy back whatever you had previously purchased, only to watch you use the money totally differently than I was expecting. The other thing they know how to do is something called chaining. Now, chaining really just means going towards the continuum limit. Instead of checking every year, I'm going to check every quarter. Maybe I'm going to check every month or every day or every hour or every minute, and I'm going to compare the prices and quantities. And so as you go towards that continuum limit, you get a different decrease usually in the rate of inflation. But we don't know how to chain a cost of living adjustment, because then it ends up picking up your changes in taste. And the dirty little secret of neoclassical economics is that as soon as your tastes change, the entire theory of human welfare in economics falls apart. Okay? And so what they've done is they've got an elaborate. Do you remember seeing this picture of J-Lo in the Versace dress? Mm-hmm. Right? So it's like nobody can figure out exactly how this thing is staying together. And it seems like the tiniest stitch goes wrong and the whole thing blows apart. That's modern neoclassical economic theory with respect to the changing preference hypothesis, which is they claim just don't allow people to form different tastes from each other or from themselves a minute ago, and everything will be fine. But if you move, the whole thing is going to blow apart. Now, as a result of this, yes, I'm going to make a very strong claim. Economics doesn't know how to calculate the rate of inflation because they need something called gauge theory. And because they don't know gauge theory, and because they don't understand inflation, and because they want to preserve the freedom of the Bureau of Labor Statistics or of the Fed or whoever puts together GDP and productivity gauges, they want the freedom to make things up as they go along. And I've been like, I want to take that freedom away. You say, trust, we don't trust, we verify, right? Mm-hmm. I want to disintermediate economists. You're angry at all central bankers. I'm going to one-up you. I'm angry at neoclassical economists who pretend that they know what's going on, and they don't know what's going on. Here's a problem that I have. I want to drive home to the economics profession that they not only don't know how to calculate inflation, but if anybody shows up who does understand gauge theory, who does understand how to calculate inflation, they will destroy that person's career so that they can continue to do what they do. Now, if Bitcoin solves everything, help me construct something to show that the people who are tasked with constructing our rates of inflation and our rates of productivity growth are not using state-of-the-art theory. I'm not even talking about how to turn this into something practical that can be computed every month. Even their theory is wrong.
Why though? Like, we see the CPI calculations. We all know it's bullshit. We see
you say we all know it's bullshit, but if we are all forced to pay our taxes relative to a CPI-adjusted tax bracket, if we are forced to expect our Social Security or Medicare payments based on a cost of living adjustment, then in a certain sense, it's not bullshit. It's very much like...
But how are you going to enforce that? How are you going to have the policy change so you do?
I'm trying to get into a fight with the economics profession because I know things that they don't know how to do. And they want to say that they are in a position to peer review me. I'm saying, okay, great, let's do it out in the open. Send me your smartest economist, whoever she or he may be. Is it Janet Yellen? Is it Paul Krugman? Send me whoever the smartest economist.
Definitely not Janet Yellen.
Maybe it's Janet Yellen. Who knows? Okay.
Krugman hates Bitcoin.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I'm trying to say something else to you guys.
Yeah,
Maybe
I know. No, I hear what you're saying.
Okay. They don't know how to calculate inflation. They don't know gauge theory. They don't understand why the marginal revolution ends up in gauge theoretic economics. They've lied about preferences. They've lied about tastes, right? They've gotten so much firepower behind this lie that our tastes don't change and that they're the same between you and me. This was written into a 1977 paper by two supposed Nobel laureates, Becker and Stigler. called De Gustibus Non Est Disputandum, and they said that tastes are like the Rocky Mountains. They are unchanging, and they are the same to all men. F these people. Seriously, I'm just tired of this. These guys aren't that smart. They don't know that much math. They go into every other field. They have something literally called economic imperialism, as if this is a great thing. And they will write, we know more math, so we have the right to invade every other subject. Time to invade economics, gentlemen.
Let's go.
Yeah.
All right.
But what I'm trying to say is
Yeah.
it's the economic heft of the Bitcoin community that can make this happen. I've been trying to do this through intellectual interchange since, I don't know, almost 30 years.
How do we know you're right and we should put our weight behind you, though?
Well, I wouldn't trust. I would verify.
Well, that's what I'm trying to do first.
I know. But what I'm trying to say is that
Like, who else is...
I'll tell you what.
Who else is behind... Like,
I'll tell you what.
Who else are you talking about gauge theory with? Like, where is the gauge theory movement? Or is it just you as a solo warrior?
More or less. I mean, Juan Maldacena wrote an article about this when he was given the $3 million prize. He did not initially cite our work, but he did after he was reminded that he did not originally cite our work. But yeah, it's just me and my wife.
Could you be wrong?
We can find out. You see, if we were to take, for example, the Boskin Commission, which was the first attempt to revisit the construction of the CPI from the perspective of senior economists tasked by the government.
What year was that?
1996, something like that. In the beginning of their report, they tried to show why we needed to move towards cost of living. And they had a too good toy example, maybe chicken and beef, and two sets of prices. Well, if you hypothesize that the consumer was given by the most common form of an idealized preference map called a Cobb-Douglas function, preferences would had to have changed between the two periods that the Boskin Commission wrote down. Right? I can back that out. So if you take the initial example in the Boskin Commission report, they can't linearly interpolate prices and preferences given by the Cobb-Douglas linearly between time 0 and time 1 and compute the rate of inflation because they claim that the index would not exist, technically called a Lasper's Conus index. If you allow the Conus index to have changing preferences, they can't compute it. We can. I can give you a number. Mm-hmm. And then you can ask, well, can they, maybe they can compute it. But I can promise you that in their literature, they claim not only haven't they computed this, but it is impossible. Work of Fisher and Shell claims that it is impossible to have a changing preference index cost of living adjustment.
Well, the answer is that the U.S. government doesn't want the accurate measurement.
They don't want. I wouldn't say it that way. I would say they don't want something where they're not allowed to toy with it by construction. Mm-hmm. So my goal and your goal,
because they want to control the money.
Well, this is where our commonality and our difference occurs. So my perspective, again, I'm not smart enough to come up with Bitcoin. It's an ingenious thing, never thought of it. We were smart enough to come up with the fact that they don't compute inflation correctly and they don't compute productivity correctly because they don't know enough differential calculus, to be blunt. And because they don't know enough differential calculus in order to make these computations, they've retained rights. Well, who knows? Maybe we'll do a little bit of hedonic adjustment. Maybe we'll do a little bit of outlet bias. Maybe we'll, do a little bit more chaining. And so by saying that it's an art, it's not a science, there's nothing, absolute, they've retained the freedom to mess with our money and to mess with our statistics. So this is really where I come to you from. My context is, you want to show me how brilliant you guys are? Shut down not only the economists at the Fed, but also shut down the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the hand-chosen experts. I'm going to claim right now, I don't think Paul Krugman knows how to do a cost of living adjustment with chaining towards the continuum if preferences are shifting. I don't think that this field is mature enough intellectually to peer review its own challenges.
Well, just going to be honest, we just did a whole 15-minute segment where I had no idea what you were talking about. We're in a whole different world. But I think I get what you're saying is let's prove them wrong. I don't understand gauge theory.
I don't know any. You guys say things, again, you can say we don't, but Bitcoin solves everything. I'm getting bored of this. If Bitcoin solves everything, hey, here's something right in your wheelhouse. It's think of this as a
Bitcoin can't fix that. That's people who fix that.
No.
People, what you need is people to help.
I don't know what Bitcoin solves everything means. What does Bitcoin fixes everything mean?
It's a meme.
Okay, what does that mean?
The meme means fix the money, fix the world. The biggest problem in the world at the moment is cheap credit.
But I still don't understand. It means something. I'm a literal guy, right? One of these guys on the autism spectrum. What does it mean? Are we fixing things? Because I would imagine one of the first things that Bitcoiners would want to do would be stop economists from computing the rate of inflation however they want.
Yeah,
but they are attacking that. They are attacking that.
No, I would agree with that. To Peter's point about it's people and government that right now, the way it's structured can affect change in that way. And I think you slowly over the coming years and decades are going to have increasingly more individuals that align with Bitcoin's potential and its principles that will enter into the U.S. government, and at some point you may be able to get some status quo around that. And we're starting to make progress. Cynthia Loomis, senator from Wyoming, she's on the Senate Banking Committee, card-carrying Bitcoiner.
Do you know what it is? Is the narratives that we have.
Wait a second. What you just did there, I don't want to do that. That's the same thing that got us into trouble with Elon. A card-carrying Senate, it's if we're serious about this, F the Senate. Look, I want to put this idea directly across to you guys because I want to hear it fail in the right way. I want to go to war with the idea that the economists are intellectually capable of doing what they say they're doing.
Well, you should sign up to Marty Bent's email. Listen, these conversations are happening. But they haven't gone mainstream out of the It's the Bitcoin that's talking about them.
I understand this, so I'm coming back to this. Right now, I want to make a frontal intellectual assault on the Bureau of Labor Statistics' right, ability, and intellectual capability to calculate rates of inflation according to a theory which they have in fact got wrong.
Let's fucking go.
Okay. I don't know how to do that. I've been trying to do that since this is where I come from, right?
Okay, so you understand the theory. Maybe you need some PR.
Maybe, but Bitcoin solves this. Bitcoin fixes this. In other words, every time I try to lean on Bitcoin fixes this, the podium gives way. Okay, so I just keep thinking, okay, here I am trying to lean on Bitcoin fixes this. If Bitcoin,
yeah, but you're confusing what humans can do and what a protocol can do.
Sorry, I don't really understand this. Are we in agreement that one of the greatest reasons for Bitcoin's success is that we're afraid of a printing press? I am afraid of a printing press. You guys?
Yeah.
Okay, great. One of the reasons I'm afraid of the printing press is redistribution. Another reason is inflation.
Mm-hmm.
Some of those are connected. Would we agree that humiliating those economists who tell the rest of us to F off, we're smarter than they are. Let me make a different.
I think I know what you're saying, Travis. Think about it like this. We all know that inflation is calculated in a subjective way that allows the money printer to go on, right? We've had the energy FUD recently, and whether you agree or not with what Michael Saylor did, he was trying to build the narrative so they actually have the data. So when anyone, that fucking idiot Sorkin from the New York Times or the people of Bloomberg or the FT, when they go and print their bullshit, we have to go, no, we have actual data. You're entirely wrong. And we have data that is both allows us to look at the miners ourselves inside our industry, but compare it to other industries. And we can go, you are wrong. So I think what Eric's is saying is similar. We all know inflation's bullshit. We keep saying it. Krugman put something up on Twitter and the Bitcoin is piling and laughing. But we don't have the actual data to go, here, your statistics, journalists cannot
there's the
ignore
data
it.
And there's also the theory.
Yeah.
Really, what would be very valuable to me is I would like to get into a fight with any leading economist.
Well, the Bitcoiners will be with you for that.
Okay. I don't know that they will or they won't, right? But we'll find out. Okay. My claim is that the theoretical basis of a cost of living adjustment, which is what they say that inflation should be based on, cost of living standard. If you chain a cost of living with changing preferences, the current theory collapses. They want a chain and they want a cola. And they want to measure the inflation. They want to tell us where to get off. My feeling is, over my dead body, you're not intellectually competent. Okay? Now, that's a huge statement. I'm not an economist by any standard measure. I'm willing to go on the show and say I'm an economist simply for the pleasure of getting an economist to say that guy doesn't know anything about economics. He doesn't know anything about theories of inflation. Okay. Right now, I want to drag this back to an old fight between Irving Fisher and Ragnar Frisch. Irving Fisher wrote down a whole bunch of axioms that said how you measure inflation. And Ragnar Frisch said, you know what? If you impose all of those axioms, there is no gauge that will work. I can prove that there will be no gauge that will work of inflation. The resolution of that is that one of Fisher's axioms was wildly off, right? And it says that if prices and quantities begin and end at the same levels, rate of inflation should be 1.00, i.e. no inflation. Okay. Fisher was wrong about that. That's coming from what I call the Flat Earth Society of Economics. What I'm trying to say is, you guys are rich. You're powerful. You're in the headlines all the time. You're whining and complaining about inflation. I don't want to whine and complain about inflation. I want to go pick a fight with the supposed people who tell us that they're smart enough to manage our economy. And all of these people who go out to, Jackson Hole, Wyoming in the summer and who put on suits and ties and have these resonant baritone voices and tell us what reality is and isn't, I don't think they're that smart.
You got to find a way of selling at them.
No, I don't know how to fix everything, but Bitcoin does. And so what I keep trying to say is, you're rich, you're focused on inflation, and you don't like to be told what to do by people who are dumber than you are, who have beautiful, titles, and they sit in fine chairs at wonderful institutions. All I'm trying to say is, I don't know, do you guys want to do something or not? If you don't want to do something, feel free. We can sit around whining about inflation and the fact that they don't know how to compute it, or we can actually take the fight to them where they live because they're not intellectually capable of actually returning fire. Now, I can't figure out how to get this issue off of my plate and onto yours. But if I were you, I'd go directly after the Bureau of Labor Statistics and say, you guys are using what? A chain less pairs, cola, something? How do you come up with this basket? Are you sure that that inflation isn't at?
But it's too. This is the point. You get into these areas. You lose people.
I don't care.
But you do care.
No, but I don't.
You can't do that. You can't err. You can't say like I want the support.
No, I can give you. I can write something down to show you exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
and then you can say, "Oh, it's over my pay grade," and then somebody else can say, "This is too complicated," and somebody else can say, "This isn't data driven." Okay, then Bitcoin can't do everything.
You want to go and pick a fight. I'm telling you, got to make it a way that is easier to digest and understand.
You guys figure that out.
Yeah, but
no. Look, I can write down what I'm saying.
Write it down
mathematically.
Okay.
And somebody in the community can figure out what I'm saying. But that's not the energy behind it. The energy behind it is, I take you guys literally when you say fix the money, fix the world, or Bitcoin fixes everything, or what we're really against is central banking and hyperinflationary and blah, blah, blah. Okay. Honestly, I don't see you guys as being part of the fight against neoclassical economics. I see you guys as talking about Austrian economics amongst yourselves. But in order to flex this stuff, you actually have to beat them. And I'm going to say it in terms that we learned from Morpheus. Morpheus says something to Neo like, I'm not going to lie to you, Neo. Anyone who's ever stood his ground to fight an agent has lost and died. Okay. Everyone who takes on neoclassical economics, maybe with the exception of Daniel Kahneman, fails. We don't know why. It's time to take this thing on, gentlemen. And what I really mean is, it's not that smart. And we need to basically make the point, Paul Krugman isn't that smart.
I think we're all in agreement on that.
No, he's pretty smart.
Well,
He's not Ken Arrow.
yeah.
Ken Arrow is really smart.
He's smart if you believe his Keynesian theory of economics or his.
It's not that. He became something else. He was really a pretty great economist. It doesn't matter. What I'm trying to say is it's time to pick a fight with neoclassical economics. And I see you guys as being sort of inward looking.
I don't think that's fair. We're definitely outward looking.
All right, well, then let's pick a fight with these guys. Or, you know what? I don't really know where we are. More or less, my feeling about this, and the reason to have me on the show and to talk about markets is that I am convinced that we are being called upon to create something that isn't capitalism, isn't communism, doesn't use fiat money, that understands how many unincorporated externalities exist in markets, that understand the danger of markets as a runaway automated process. As much as I hate having Janet Yellen tell me what to do, I also hate the idea of being hooked up to a potential doomsday machine, which can't be interfered with if it starts to become that AGI that we worry about being told that it has to make paper clips. And one of the great dangers of Bitcoin that we're seeing is maybe the idea of having something so decentralized actually winds up undoing everything because effectively there isn't anyone in control. We don't know.
Maybe we do need to unwind everything.
Maybe. I'm not, but you say that casually.
No, I'm not.
You've got kids on this.
No, listen, look, I don't know the answer.
Part of this is like Balaji's line of thinking is that you're going to undergo this like multi-decade reorganization of how groups of people come together, and that the internet makes everybody, like that you can just come together in these communities that have much more acute belief systems, and that just over time the concept of a nation state is going to start to dismantle, and people are going to be, local is going to matter more because it's who you're physically around, but you're going to spend more and more time in a digital space, and you're just going to choose very specifically who you're going to connect to in that digital space. And TBD on. I mean, I think you can imagine 50 years from now, lots of little factions, and where war fits into all that. I wouldn't pretend.
What Breedlove would be saying here? If Breedlove he would be talking about the logic of violence, and that technology changes the logic of violence. And not always can we say it's for the better. Sometimes for the worse, sometimes for the better. Maybe we just are having to go through this shift right now. We can't change it. Maybe the forces at hand are too big.
Maybe, but right now I'm feeling like we don't have much time. And by not much time, I mean a few hundred years at the outset. So it's not like by next Thursday we better have a solution. But I do think we're playing Russian roulette as of now. Yeah. It's just the gun has an enormous number of chambers that are hollow, right? That are empty. And as a result, it feels like we have a lot of time. But really what we have is that we have a very small amount of time. And I guess
what's the action? What's the action then? What are you saying next?
Look, I want to do next level. What do I want to do next?
What are we doing next?
I want to get institutions that can actually pay people who are heterodox and make them. I want to redistribute fuck you money before we redistribute regular money.
Just come down to El Salvador and see where that's being redistributed to change things there. It's interesting. I'll talk to you about it off this.
I'm interested.
Yeah.
But I really think that the biggest problem is that the people we need to be fat and happy and working on next level stuff are in general under somebody else's thumb. And so one of the things that's really important to me is giving more people use of their middle finger who are actually trying to build and do things. And in general, what I find is that there isn't a lot of ethos around I want to empower the people who are going to take down these structures who actually maybe know what they're doing or what they're talking about differently than I want to empower everybody who has the ability to get rich.
Well, listen, what I will say, and I think a thought to leave you with is that what I know amongst the Bitcoiners is they don't trust, and they're very distrusting of the education system and the institutions and the media industry and yada, yada. they're getting really fucking rich and they do distribute their money, and they maybe are distributing that money into projects they care about, like interesting, different kinds of projects.
So I can't imagine that they don't want to take out neoclassical economics.
You can't speak for you can't speak for individuals or them as a group, but
No,
there
I'm
will
just
be
saying,
someone. There will be someone.
Where is the
Well, a lot of
well-heeled-
them are going to hear this.
Where
Yeah,
is
so
the
that's a good start.
well-heeled?
Yeah.
Where is the well-heeled group that wants to tell neoclassical economists to shut the hell up?
Hey, listen, a lot of them will.
Okay.
Especially the Austrian
So that's
economists.
one thing that's really important to me. Another thing that's really important to me is we got to get back to science. And if everybody's worried about losing their job every time they open their mouth, right? They didn't say something that was diverse enough, inclusive enough.
Oh,
and
we
had
all
enough
agree on this.
equity. What?
We all agree on this one.
No, we don't.
No, we do.
Well, we do, but look, I don't have the money to found a new science institute. So let me know when one of these people who does have enough money to found a new science institute founds a new science institute.
How much do you need?
Hundreds of millions. What do you got?
Well, it's pocket change for a few of our friends.
No, it's not pocket change for anyone.
For a few.
One of the things, having hung out with billionaires, I now can say one of the sad features that I did not, because I didn't hang out with billionaires up until 10, 15 years ago at all. I didn't know any. Nobody's got a spare $1 million. You hear people, oh, $1 million is nothing to him. That's like chump change. No, I've now met enough people who are seriously rich to tell you that $1 million is not chump change to any one of these people. So Mike Lazaridis endowed the Perimeter Institute for Theoretical Physics. I think was it Citigroup did the Santa Fe Institute. I don't see anything that is trying to endow something new. You know, Bill Gates, who came from the traditional economy, you know, probably did more trying to get, you know, Sal Khan and the Khan Academy going on than I've seen the energy coming out of the Bitcoin universe. So my feeling about this is that I'm somewhat watching a different version of the tech money, where the tech money came with the tech ideology. Software eats the world. And that was inhibitory of any attempt to actually rebuild the world. Well, why rebuild the world if software is there to eat it? Well, in some sense, the problem with Bitcoin is that it's going to put the money in the hands of people who understand that certain central features need to be decentralized. But there are other things that need to be re-centralized, right? And that's going to be a much harder lesson to a group of people. And trust is important, right? Trust is, yes, it's true that sometimes you can't trust other people, but sometimes you have to. Mm-hmm. And if you can't figure out how to get to trust, to re-centralization, to building, in some sense, you're just one more utopian community that came through promising everything to everyone, and you couldn't deliver. And so the reason that I stay on this is that when somebody says Bitcoin fixes that, Bitcoin fixes everything, I get real dumb. I say, great, because I've got a laundry list of things that I want. And then people say, oh, well, Bitcoin can't fix this. It can't. And then if
I understand the call to
then
action.
shut the fuck up.
Yeah, it's a meme, though. It's a bit like when somebody... but have fun staying Paul's a meme, but they say it to Elon Musk.
No.
It's a meme.
Actually, it's not a meme.
No,
because
I understand
when you
your
say
point,
that, what you're doing is you're playing the Mott and Bailey game. Oh, no, we didn't really mean that. Yes, you did.
Semi-mean. It's a meme.
No.
You know what memes are exaggerations?
Sorry, I get really dumb. Maybe you mean it, maybe you don't. Do you? I think you don't.
Well, some people do.
I don't think they mean it. I think that the people with Bitcoin wealth don't mean it. I think that the point is that when it comes, that we have a huge number of problems. Now, the reason I bring up the inflation problem is that it's the clearest indication to me that the community doesn't even care about what the community cares about.
Yeah, I disagree with you. I mentioned Marty Bent. I mean, he's regularly talking about this, and there are other people having the conversation. They care about the inflation problem. Maybe they just don't want to attack it the way you do.
That's fine.
Or they haven't
bought
into your idea.
That it doesn't fix it. What I'm trying, we're not understanding each other. What I'm trying to say is I happen to be in possession of a piece of knowledge. And that is that all of neoclassical economics is vulnerable to the changing preference problem in ordinal welfare theory.
But this is a claim. This is your claim.
Yeah, but it's a mathematical claim.
Well,
I can show you what the paradox it results in.
Yeah, but what's the process that should go through? Is it paper, peer reviewed, tested? Like,
No, well,
has to be sold to people.
Okay, assume that I give you a paper.
Yes.
Forget about peer review. Assume that I give you a paper which shows what the solution is, shows you places in the literature that says that this problem can't be solved. So on the one hand, it's a backwards compatible solution that is claimed, and another, it's claimed that no solution can exist. My point isn't about gauge theoretic economics in this particular issue. This is an opportunity to show you that the economists are not honest. They are not the experts, and they are not honest. Their process of peer review should naturally result in this thing being accepted. Yes, it does everything that the old system could do, plus it does new things, plus it contradicts the claim that we made in our own literature that this is impossible, right? Now, what is the goal of that? The goal of that is not even the construction of an inflation gauge. It is to say, you economists are not the experts on markets. Are we clear? Right? That's the point. Which is going on offense against the world's most offensive community. This is the world's #1 offensive community intellectually. No other community that I'm aware of would put imperialism after their subject matter. Can you imagine biologists talking about biological imperialism?
I wouldn't imagine thinking about that.
Yeah, well, what I'm trying to say is economists talk about economic imperialism.
Mm-hmm.
It's time for them to suffer a serious intellectual defeat so that the rest of us can get at our own economy.
But the intellectual defeat has to be one that works. It has to be.
I can't say it a million times. There's a problem of the theoretical construction of an inflation gauge. Currently, that is something called a CONUS index. You either know about CONUS indices or you don't. If you don't, that's fine.
Nope.
Okay. Cost of living adjustment is based on a CONUS index.
Mm-hmm.
CONUS indices are based on welfare, a theory of welfare. Then there's an issue of something called chaining. Are you familiar with chaining? Okay. So chaining and cost of living adjustments are the two ingredients here, and they're based on a theory of preferences over market choices. I want to show that this community is too intellectually corrupt to manage our markets. That is my point.
But take my feedback, okay? I think the pieces that you are missing is a way of the average person being able to digest this, because I think a lot of people, no, this is important. You're like,
so send me a bunch of interns.
What I'm saying, no.
Send me a bunch of interns, and we'll do it in a studio, and you guys will tell me. But I don't want to do this, right? What's boring me about this?
Yeah, but you're contradicting yourself now. Because you said I want to go to war.
Yeah.
Okay, but then hear me out. What I'm saying is the piece you're missing is like a lot of this stuff. It just goes over people's heads. It's like you talk about a whole bunch of concepts and bring them together, and honestly, I'm like, what the fuck is he talking about? And am I an idiot, or it's like everyone?
Come on, it's not.
No, what I'm saying is that all you need is a way of making that to translate. Trust me, as someone whose job it is, like I am known for doing a show that gets people to break things down so the everyman can understand it.
Do you have a whiteboard?
What? No.
I'll do it right here for you on a whiteboard.
Travis has to go to dinner.
next episode.
I think no. I'm not that I'm with you, not against you. What I'm saying is, if I don't understand, I don't understand.
Then maybe it's pointless.
No. You're giving up because you're giving up.
It's not that I'm giving up. I have to figure out where. Let me give you my calculation.
Yeah.
My issue is I have a different issue than the rest of you. Many of you guys don't want to be under anyone's thumb. The libertarian wing of your community is like,
okay, well, I've agreed I'm not in that.
I know. Don't tell me what to do, man. Well, I have some of that in me, even though I'm not a libertarian. But my feeling is slightly smaller, right? My feeling is, if you're dumber than I am and you're not public spirited, I don't want your hands on the wheel. If you're smarter than I am and you're public spirited, we can talk about it. But if you're dumber and you're not public spirited, there's no way in the world I want you telling me what to do.
What if you're dumber and public spirited?
I don't think they are dumber and public spirited. It's an interesting puzzle. What if they're smarter and not public spirited?
All I'm saying is, like, we could do circles.
I know, but I'm not interested in that. What I'm interested in is I want the people who currently are pretending that they know enough about the economy I want them to be forced to admit, yeah, we don't know how to do stuff.
Yeah, and what I'm telling you is that I think to get there, my personal experience is that you need to find a way of making this so everyone can understand. And when I say that, then not to say you don't care. Like,
no, it's not that.
You clearly
Peter,
care.
If I have a board and we spend an hour and a half, right?
Next trip.
then the objection becomes something else.
Okay.
And then the objection becomes something else. My feeling is I'm 55 years old. I'm going to be checked out. In 40 years' time, I'm out of this place. Okay? I don't want to have a non-convergent conversation. What I want to do is I want to disintermediate the people who've stepped forward and say, we are the smart people. And my feeling is, no, you're not. And in part, part of celebrating Satoshi and saying, Janet Yellen isn't our A-team intellectually. I don't know who Satoshi is, but Satoshi, in the internet language, Satoshi greater than Yellen. Okay? So, this is supposed to be the smart kids. I want to go to war with the theory that has us under somebody else's thumb. Because whether it's Paul Krugman or, Marty Feldstein, in the old days, somebody was always telling us, Alan Greenspan, okay, the Oracle has spoken. I'm anti-Oracle. And the most important thing to being anti-Oracle is to say, you guys always claim that you're the smartest people in the room. You claim that you have the right to be in sociology, in psychology, in every field weaker than you are. Okay?
Are you talking about us as the big
No. The central banking, neoclassical economy.
Yeah.
So I keep thinking, oh, okay, so you guys have a problem with my enemy. So you're supposed to be my really close friends.
Yeah, but we are.
Well,
that's why I want to have this conversation. Everyone's going to listen to this.
I think that there would be a general view amongst a lot of Bitcoiners that you wouldn't affect change by calling them out. Like we all go log onto YouTube and watch a Jerome Powell live press conference, and in the comment section on the YouTube video, all it is people going, money printer go burr and buy Bitcoin. And you sit there and you go, Bitcoin is, if it succeeds, going to dismantle all of this. And, calling it out, whether or not it's with a research paper or whether it's, just, yelling as loud as you can, it's not going to make them change. They're not going to change their actions.
Put some money behind it. You guys are money people. You love money. You talk about money constantly. I keep talking about this technology. People bang me on the head, right? Hey, Eric, wake up. It's money. Okay, it's money. You're rich. You're rich. You're so incredibly rich. You bought planes with your Bitcoin. Fantastic. You bought private islands. Love it. Why don't you put some money into disintermediating the people who are constantly going to keep you sidelined?
I get that.
You're not doing that. Or why don't you put some money into physics research trying to get us off the planet? You're not doing that. So then the point is, okay, but I bought my mother a new house. It's like, awesome, wonderful. You don't understand. That's freedom. I get it.
I think you're miscategorized. I think that narrative is miscategorizing a group of people.
Please tell me.
Look, of course, some people are going to buy themselves some nice things at some point.
I'm not.
Yeah. But the point being is,
who doesn't want to buy themselves? That's not my point. My point is, you're not.
They've got different agendas from you, maybe.
No, okay. This is just, it's irritating for the following reason. When you have a leading brand, which is X solves everything, and then you don't want it to get hit, you say, that's just a meme. And then you say, actually the community this, and then you say, okay, well, I task the community. Well, actually, there is no community. It's just like, okay, is this all Quicksilver? Well, so-and-so speaks for our community. Really? They speak for your... No one speaks for our community. Oh, shit. Trust, we don't trust, we verify. Oh, but we trusted Elon. Oh, but now we don't trust Elon. It's just like, okay, let's calm down. What is a statement? What does Bitcoin fix? And who do you trust? And where is the community? and who more or less is thought to be an important voice in it. Because otherwise, it's just like the contradiction of the last thing somebody said. You should read Saylor. Does Saylor speak for the community? Not at all.
Well, it is the reality of it's a moving feast. It changes, it evolves, it changes shape. It's like a I don't know, like a brain.
Terminator 2.
And it's learning. Yeah, Terminator.
Okay,
yes.
so yes.
I tried to break into the cinema to see that because they wouldn't let me in.
Okay, but the Terminator 2 thing, so it's shape-shifting. It's Quicksilver.
Yeah.
You don't understand it. You understand Zen.
And it's learning.
But that also makes it much less interesting. I mean, in part, the idea is I very specifically don't think that we're going to get rid of government. Government is going to continue.
I agree.
I don't think we're going to get rid of all fiat currency for various reasons.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that we have an upcoming rendezvous where I think there's going to be a lot of pressure to make Bitcoin highly regulated.
It already is in places.
And it really bothers me about what's coming. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to disintermediate the blockchain, because I didn't want things to be traceable, even if everything was anonymous. And then I understand, okay, well, we founded it on this. And so if you take that away, you're attacking. At the end of the day, it's very intellectually unsatisfying to be caught in the same conversations when you see a world that you want to get to. And every time you try to hit one of the claims of the community that you think that can get you to that next level, you run up against a different claim of the community, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's part of what the frustration is. The part of the frustration is that I saw Bitcoin really early on and got wildly excited about it. And I wrote this thing, please check out Go Virtual Young Man. And then it just doesn't, like, same world. I'm still looking at the same world. I'm looking at a different group of people who've gotten some control over their own lives by believing in something heterodox that worked. And I think that's beautiful and it's wonderful. But man, I was excited about this beyond that. I was excited about this as a society world-changing event. And maybe the problem is that I got excited in 2010, and I got excited because I thought that there was more, that Bitcoin was more. In my own mind, I saw distributed computing as we can port the conservation laws of the physical world into the digital layer. We can reestablish ourselves in some reflection of ourselves inside of our computers. We can take the network of computers and turn it into something like the space-time substrate, and we can have, just as gold travels on the space-time substrate, we could have digital gold traveling here, and gold has no stench. So we could get rid of the stench, right? That was sort of my thinking. And then I had this idea that from the early 90s, markets are just gauge theory. And you know what? Gold, which is a physical system of quarks and leptons, is also just gauge theory. And there's some sort of beautiful hope that we would do something that would be radically different, that would be beyond capitalism, beyond communism, beyond this planet, and really reflect on some sort of world-changing potential. And I guess the thing that I'm seeing is just like, okay, somebody came up with a new fucking meme.
No
or
way,
laser
man.
eyes, or
No.
Toxicity is our best feature because it tells people who don't belong here to go away. It's like, whatever. I'm getting fucking tired.
Listen, I'm going to finish, but I think we can always come back to this. Memes are powerful, so I would defend memes. But do I agree with them all the time? No. Do we take things too far sometimes? But this is a decentralized, moving beast. But the thing about Bitcoin that's great, Eric, is that everyone has the freedom to do what they want. If you want to do this, and you can go and do it. My only feedback to you is that I'm not the smartest man, but I am a fucking good salesman. And maybe there's another way to sell this to people.
So what?
Sell this the way that the approach to attacking the neoclassical economists, maybe it just needs sharpening. Like like we as Bitcoiners, we need to sharpen our tools. We make good arguments and bad arguments. Maybe the arguments that you want to build, they just need sharpening in a way that is digestible by a large group of people. Because I would imagine when people listen to this interview, and I think it's been very different from what I expected, a lot of fun. But on this point, I could imagine, I could be wrong, but I imagine some people will say, I kind of got lost and didn't understand it. I've got a good gauge for that. That's my gauge theory. I got a good gauge for that. So maybe that's what it is, but time to digest it, I think.
Well, my guess is that this is going to land in some way where people are just going to go back to their snap to grid perspective. Like, I heard a bunch of stuff and it didn't really speak to Bitcoin, or this guy really just, he's against the community, doesn't understand toxic. That's tiring. What I'm really excited about, let me just be very clear about it. You've got the world's greatest recent innovation by some measures. And it's doing an enormous amount for an enormous number of people. Unfortunately, it comes with a little bit of ethos, which is it lends to a simplification. Namely, we can get by with memes, we can get by with slogans, and toxicity is our friend. Trust, don't verify, don't trust. These are not things that are mature enough to replace the corrupt structures that I think are within its reach. And so my feeling is I wanted to align myself, not necessarily to become this community, but to align myself with this community for fighting our common enemy, which is allowing, in general, much older people who do not understand what pressures we're under to continue to direct our society from positions of power. And my concern is that for some reason, the memes are hollow. If Bitcoin can't even go after the neoclassical economists who populate the Fed in an area where they are totally vulnerable, which is the topic of inflation, for which Bitcoin, this is Bitcoin's killer product. Its killer product is that you can hide from central bankers who are living through some MMT fantasy. You can short central bankers using Bitcoin. My feeling about this was, hey, it happens that they don't know how to compute this. It could be that they did know how to compute this and that they still didn't want to compute it, in which case I would have nothing to offer. But by virtue of the fact that they can't compute this, and it's in your wheelhouse, and you're not even going after that, or you're not even asking the right questions. It's like, well, Eric, can you sell it? Well, why don't you send me a team of salespeople? Go take some Bitcoin and buy a team of salespeople and tell me what I need to sell. And then tell me a bunch of visual stuff that I need to do. And go buy the visual stuff. Then hold a conference. Then have a prize. But ultimately, I would like to stop listening to Paul Krugman. And it's very important that if we find the thermal port on the economics Death Star, that our aim be true. And gentlemen, I thought that was what the Bitcoin community wanted to do. Why are you and your X-Wing fighters rocketing down, the canyons on a Death Star, headed right for the exhaust vent, and you won't even take your shot on inflation? Are you guys kidding me?
No, listen, look, we're just not seeing it the way you see it. We're definitely going there, but look, it is part of our narrative. But let's let people digest this. Let's see what people say, because there will be some feedback on this.
Yeah.
But thank you for coming.
Thank you for
I
having
appreciated it. It was definitely a challenge and a test, but it was definitely worth it. Travis,
a pleasure.
Thank you for coming on,
Enjoy
man.
the conversation.
Thank you to my man, Rich, for letting us borrow his studio. I'm sure we'll do this again at some point.
Inshallah, my friend.
Inshallah.